The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gam Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code SGPN to get a $1,000 bonus credit. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gam Podcast here on the Sports Gam Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday night, roughly 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time on April 2nd. I'm Rose's episode, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the breakdown of the final taking place on Sunday in Monte-Carlo. Going to break down the final matchup between Alcaraz and Musetti. For that, though, brief recap of what happened in the last episode for the Lock and Dog picks. Overall, a decent episode. Felt like we were close to sweeping, but unfortunately did not happen as de Minaur fell apart in the, I'd say, back half of the match against Musetti. Either way, though, point is ended up splitting. We lost the lock with de Minaur moneyline at minus 124. Won the first set 6-1, was tied halfway through the second set, and then de Minaur fell apart and Musetti got the break. Then we ended up having a chaotic third set where de Minaur went down a break, then got the break back, then got broken again. And then Musetti was serving for the match. De Minaur broke back and then ended up losing in a breaker. So a bit of a heartbreaker there in the third set. Definitely a fun match. It was full of drama, but either way, did pick up a loss as de Minaur was not able to get over the finish line. Had a mini break lead early in that tie break and then kind of fell apart. So picked up a loss there for the lock. Win with the dog, though. We had Alcaraz team total over 12.5 games at even money. Went the way I thought it would. I thought Alcaraz would win in a competitive straight sets, and he did, as he did win 7-6, 6-4. So Alcaraz did get the job done. Fokina fought hard, but I figured Alcaraz would win the big points when needed. He did so, and he did go over this team total. So once again, decent episode, not the best, but we were close to sweeping. De Minaur, though, really let us down. Looked like he was going to potentially cruise early on, and then unfortunately did not as he lost outright. So either way, time to get into the actual recap of the matches in detail for what we actually saw on Saturday. Starting off with that Alcaraz match. The real story of the match was actually breakpoint chances, and I'd say failed breakpoint attempts, or failed breakpoint, I'd say, opportunities by Alcaraz. Because even though Alcaraz did us a solid by going over the team total, he really shouldn't have. Like, he was dominating both sets, and then he ended up kind of letting Fokina get back into the first set to put it to a breaker in the first place. But Alcaraz, by comparison to Fokina, Alcaraz had 10 more breakpoint chances. He was 3 of 17 on breakpoint chances, and you ended up seeing Fokina go 2 for 7 on his breakpoint. So the point is, Alcaraz had a pretty, I'd say, hefty lead in a lot of games, and unfortunately for him, he was not able to convert more often than not, but he did enough in order to actually get the job done. Alcaraz, though, just for reference here, did lead 5-2 in the first set, so we were kind of worried that Alcaraz would dominate too much and Fokina would not force a 7-5 or 7-6, and then we ended up getting fortunate that Fokina came back. Alcaraz had a couple of set points, failed 3 of them. Then Fokina got the break to make it 5-4, ended up holding, and then you ended up seeing Alcaraz get the job done there in a breaker. But Alcaraz outplayed him for the majority of the match. Fokina did a good job of fighting off those breakpoint. I'd say, once again, he had a bunch of breakpoints that he had to actually fight off, and he did a good job of fighting some of those off. But it felt like Alcaraz had a bunch of chances to blow the match open, and he failed most of them, which resulted in the close scoreline that we had instead. But anyway, Alcaraz got the job done at the end. Doesn't really matter for him how he gets it done. Point is, he's into the final. We'll see how he does on Sunday. But Alcaraz, I thought, played better than Fokina by a decent margin. The issue was just the inability to convert on these big break points, and that resulted in the close scoreline. So nice win there for the lock, for the dog with the team total. For the loss, though, for the lock, ended up losing with de Minaur on the money line, who won the first set 6-1. Musetti's lost the first set 6-1 in 3 of the 4 matches at the event, and then Musetti came back. Definitely a very fun final 2 sets if you are just I'd say, an unbiased tennis fan. But de Minaur did get the break back in the second set to make it 2-2. It was 4-3 de Minaur, and you figured, okay, maybe we got a shot at this. Maybe if he gets the break, we could win in straight sets. Didn't happen, as Musetti went from down 3-4 to winning the second set 6-4, so not exactly ideal winning the last 3 games of the set. Then you had chaos in the third set. Musetti up a break. de Minaur breaks back immediately. Musetti breaks back again to get the break lead. And then he had one double fault in the entire match, and Musetti did use that double fault when he was serving for the match, and it was on break point. So he ended up giving up a double fault to give de Minaur the break back, went to a breaker. Then I thought de Minaur had a brutal miss in the 4-4 point on the forehand side. Musetti did a great job of keeping the ball in play and just kind of forcing de Minaur to hit the ball past him. And we know de Minaur doesn't have much firepower, but he went for this really, really bold and pretty idiotic forehand where he just tried to unload on it. And it wouldn't have been a winner anyway. It looked like Musetti was going to get there, but either way, point is de Minaur went for glory and he missed the baseline by a couple feet. And that was the mini break that Musetti needed, as he eventually got the job done and did not drop a single point after that in the tiebreak. But the point is, de Minaur had his chances. He was in a crazy streak, actually, in the middle of that match early in the first set against Musetti. If you want to hear a fun fact, it's kind of not fun for us because we lost the lock with it, but de Minaur, if you go from the ending of the Medvedev match to the first couple of games in the first set there on Saturday against Musetti, he had won 17 straight games. 17. He won 2 straight against Medvedev. He won all 12 against Dimitrov. And then he won the first 3 against Musetti. So in the span of 3 matches, de Minaur won 17 straight games in Monte-Carlo, and he did not make the final, which I find kind of insane. But either way, de Minaur played really well early, and then Musetti settled in. Kind of the story of every Musetti match so far in the event, with the exception of the Berrettini match. And we saw Musetti showcase why he is that good on clay, and he got the job done. A nice job by him. Unfortunately, though, the sweep still eludes us as we were in really, really good territory, but unfortunately, good is not good enough. And we picked up a loss there for the lock. But once again, a weird collection of matches for Saturday, as you had the Alcaraz match close on paper, mainly because of how bad he was on these big points, mostly break points, but Alcaraz was able to get the job done in straight sets, called that one close to a T, thought he'd win like 7-6, 6-3, and he won 7-6, 6-4, so close enough. And then Musetti got the job done there in 3 in what would have been, or arguably was, the match of the tournament. So hopefully we'll get a fun final here on a Sunday between Alcaraz and Musetti. We'll see what happens. We'll get into that match in a second. Before we get into the actual preview of that final, quick reminder that we do have a couple ways you can support the show. You can also like and subscribe on YouTube, and I can also leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. I think for subscribers on YouTube, we are about 6 away, I think, from 900. So if we can help us get there, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy the content. Plus, a reminder, podcast is also available on Spotify or Apple. So you can listen to the podcast audio only on those platforms. When you do so, don't forget to leave a rating and a review to help the show grow as well. Plus, a reminder, you can check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great Tennis Camp Podcast merch with sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. High quality, different colors, very affordable. I recommend getting yourself something there. Plus, a reminder, we do have a great, I should say, app that you can use to find all of our podcasts and our picks, not just for this podcast, for the other podcasts of the network. Don't forget to go on the App Store, download the SGPN's app for free, completely free. Download the free app wherever you do get your apps. We're also brought to you by our sponsor, EdgeBoost, because if you've ever tried to get some money from your account from the bank at around 2 a.m. and you've had your deposit blocked, that will not happen with EdgeBoost because you can use it. It is the first ever bank account built for bettors. They give you fast, reliable access to your funds, make it easier to move money around when and where you need it without the delays that come with traditional banks. You'd also get a good cash reward system. It gets better every time you deposit into a qualified gambling account. You get cash rewards up to 0.5%. You also can do this without any usage fees and with no minimum balance. And a reminder, they also have a ton of gambling tools that can help you make responsible gambling decisions by helping you manage your bankroll, and you can make informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Sign up for the EdgeBoost card today. We're also brought to you by MyBookie.ag because they're the place bet in every sport. You can also bet on the Masters. I know the fourth and final round is happening tomorrow, so you can bet on that if you think Rory's going to hold on, everything's going to choke. You can bet on that in the MyBookie platform. Plus, a reminder, they have props in every game. You could also use it for a ton of locations. You could also use crypto for lightning fast payouts and easy deposits. Head to MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. That's 100% deposit match up to 1K if you use the promo code SGPN at MyBookie.ag. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Finish recapping what happened in the Saturday semifinal matches. Time to move on into the one match on the Sunday card. Time to break down the Alcaraz and Musetti match. Now, for this one, couple of head-to-head meetings in the past. We've seen Alcaraz win most of them. Alcaraz is 4-1 lifetime. Now, Alcaraz did win the last three. One in the only meeting last year in Miami, as Alcaraz won 6-3, 6-3. Fifth in Beijing in 2023 as well, and Alcaraz won 6-2, 6-2. Couple of clay meetings, though. Each of the first three were on clay. Alcaraz dominated in the French Open as he beat him 6-3, 6-2, 6-2. Faced off in the Hamburg final a couple years ago, and Musetti actually won that one in 3 sets. And then they faced off in a challenger in Italy back in 2020, and you ended up seeing Alcaraz beat Musetti in 3 sets there. So the question is, do I factor in the recent hard court meetings? Not really. I know they're the most recent meetings, but when we're talking about surfaces, and we know Musetti is definitely at his best on clay, not the best on hard court. I think Alcaraz does have a massive edge in that surface, so I'm going to kind of ignore the Miami match and the Beijing match, but the French Open one I think is kind of important, as Alcaraz dominated, not dropping more than 3 games in a single set. Back in 2023, then you had the 2 marathon matches. Musetti beat him in the only title match they had in an ATP event, where Musetti won in Hamburg despite dropping the middle set in a breaker. And then they had the Challenger War, which was in Musetti's home country. Was a long time ago, though, about 5 years ago, and you ended up seeing Alcaraz win that one in a competitive 3 sets. So based on the head-to-head history, you're assuming Alcaraz is going to win, not to mention the fact that Alcaraz is, of course, the best clay player in the world because he has won the French Open. So we'll see how both guys look in this one. For the actual price, though, they are giving Musetti basically no chance of winning the match, as Alcaraz is minus 450. Musetti's plus 360 for the spread. You have minus 4.5 for Alcaraz, plus 4.5 for Musetti. The over-under in games is set at 20.5. For the set spread, you have Alcaraz in straight sets at minus 140. Musetti to win a set at plus 110. The over 2.5 sets is plus 180. For team total, you have the over-under for Alcaraz at 12.5, and you have the Musetti line being set at 8.5. Or 9. Now, for the path of both guys, definitely a weird path for Musetti so far, and Alcaraz has been winning matches but not looking that great over the course of, I should say, multiple rounds. So for Alcaraz, he had the weird opening match against Cerundolo. Lost the first set 6-3, then won the final 2 sets, only dropping 1 game combined. Then he ended up beating Altmaier in straight sets. Beat Fees in a war where Alcaraz was on the brink of elimination, actually, and then eventually did hold at the end of the second set, got the break, and then won in the third set. So definitely, in my opinion, the match of the tournament. Yes, I know the de Minaur match had a lot more drama at the end, but it felt like the Fees-Alcaraz match was the highest quality, in my opinion, of any match so far that we've seen. But he ended up beating Fekina 7-6, 6-4 in the semifinal matchup on Saturday. For Musetti, he's been dropping sets left and right. In fact, he's been dropping the first set left and right. You ended up seeing him in the first round beat Bu, lost the first set 6-4, came back and won. Beat Leheshka, dropped the first set 6-1, came back and won in 3. Beat Berrettini in straight sets. Berrettini was awful in that match. Tsitsipas won the first set 6-1, and Musetti ended up coming back and winning in 3. And then yesterday, or I should say on Saturday, ended up beating de Minaur after losing the first set once again 6-1. So Musetti has lost the first set in 4 of the 5 matches at the event. He's lost the first set 6-1 in 3 of his last 4 matches here. And Alcaraz has also been a bit underwhelming early in matches, though. Alcaraz had the breaker against Fekina, even though he was up 5-2 in the first set. Lost the first set to Fees, lost the first set to Cerundolo. He's been kind of up and down lately. Now, Alcaraz, the reason why he's so dangerous is because when he is off his game, he's still good enough to beat a lot of players on tour. And when he flips the switch and goes God mode, no matter how short that time span might be, if he flips a switch and goes crazy for about 20 minutes, that's enough to swing the entire match in his favor and to find a way to reclaim momentum from the opposition. So I think my main concern here for the matchup for Musetti, I know he's been getting away with it for every single round so far with the exception of 1. Can he keep losing the first set and coming back and winning when you're against elite competition? So far, the answer is yes. Do I think he'll be able to drop the first set and beat Alcaraz in 2 straight sets throughout the event? I do not. I think Alcaraz is too good, and I think that Alcaraz has been good enough in the head-to-head to once again afford the potential lapses in his own game to deal with Musetti, who might end up punting the first set again. We'll see what happens, but I think Alcaraz has the overall game and the overall, I should say, variety to really frustrate Musetti. We know Musetti does have extremely deep return position. It's why he doesn't give up many aces, but it's also why he tends to struggle against uber aggressive players. It's because when you see guys come forward and they're able to shorten the points, Musetti's going to have to hit a lot of passing shots very deep from the baseline. He's done a great job with the court coverage and with the overall consistency from both wings from that deep position so far. But we've seen other guys have some success against Musetti in the past using similar tactics. For example, Tsitsipas, who Musetti did beat, but we saw Tsitsipas showcase a lot of, I should say, aggression early in the match. It's why he came to the net a lot. The problem for Tsitsipas was he couldn't hit a first serve, and that did allow Musetti the opportunity to neutralize the serve of Tsitsipas. But it felt like Tsitsipas, if he was able to actually hit more first serves, could have maybe won the match. Alcaraz, I do think, has a very underrated serve and volley game. We've seen it with Medvedev in their head-to-head meetings in the past. Maybe Alcaraz goes back to that more often than you think. But Alcaraz's serve has been a problem for him so far in the event. He's been able to get by. Not easy, though. He's had a decent amount of long games. Fokina was able to break a couple times because Alcaraz's serve was extremely, I'll use the word underwhelming. And I do think with the court speeds in Monte-Carlo and how slow they are, you might see a lot of rallies that are pretty long, and you might see a lot of, I should say, underwhelming serving over the course of these 2-3 sets. But Alcaraz, if the serve is going to be good enough, or at least I should say fine, I think he has enough to win this, arguably in straight sets. Do I think Musetti's got a chance to win? Sure. He's a very good clay player. He's been good competition. He beat de Minaur, who seemed unbeatable about a day ago or so, and then beating Tsitsipas, who owns the tournament. He's won the event 3 of the last 4 years, beat Berrettini, who's in great form. He's beaten really good players. I'm not going to dismiss Musetti's path so far. Even Leheshka can be very solid on clay, or just in general. So I think Musetti, once again, has the overall talent on clay to pull this off. Do I think he's going to? No. I think Musetti, at the end of the day, does play a pretty specific style in order to succeed. And I feel like the lack of variety is going to hurt him, at least for tactics. I think Alcaraz can showcase different tactics over the course of a match. He can use drop shots, he can come forward himself, use some volleying, and use some quality serve placement. I think Musetti has to stand far behind the baseline. I think he has to be involved in a lot of long rallies, and I do think Musetti can get the job done. But if Alcaraz is going to avoid hitting a ton of unforced errors, I think Musetti's got some problems. I think it's why Alcaraz has won, as of right now, it's why Alcaraz has won 7 straight sets against Musetti, and none of those sets went to 10 games or more. Alcaraz has won those last 7 sets pretty decisively, and a big reason for that, I think, is a style matchup, which goes in favor of Alcaraz. But I know that the last 2 meetings were on hard courts. You can kind of put an asterisk by those. But I think Alcaraz is the better player. I think Musetti's made a great run to get here to the final, and he has beaten a lot of tough competition. However, I do think matchup-wise, there are problems for Musetti. And yes, Alcaraz can lose. I'm not telling you that he's guaranteed to win the match, but I do think the odds being this high feel disrespectful, but at the same point, I understand it. Because if Musetti is going to be dropping the first set, can he win 2 sets in a row against Alcaraz on clay? Maybe. I don't think so. I think Alcaraz wins in a competitive straight sets, personally. I think it'll be similar to the match we saw against Fokina, where Alcaraz is able to take a first set, maybe not as close, but I think he'll be able to grab an early lead, hold on, and then you might have a bit of a close second set. But I think Musetti will be able to use the energy of the crowd. The problem is Alcaraz also gets a ton of crowd support. So we'll see how the crowd's divided. A lot of Italian fans, though, supporting Musetti throughout the entire run. Not many guys from Australia, for example, who were supporting de Minaur in his semifinal match. So the crowd played a factor, definitely, and it was pro Musetti in the match on Saturday. Crowd is always pro Alcaraz, though. So we'll see how the crowd's divided. But I think for the sake of this matchup, I'm going to go with Alcaraz in straight sets of -140. I think Musetti is going to hang in there for 1 set of the 2. I just think you won't be able to actually get the job done. I think Musetti and his serve have been fine. They got better as the match went on against de Minaur, but he's not really the greatest server in the world, and I do think Alcaraz will be more aggressive in his return position. I think he'll be able to use the actual firepower that he has to push Musetti around the court. Musetti has great defense, and he definitely showcased that against de Minaur, but de Minaur really does not have much firepower. It's the main flaw in his game, and I think Alcaraz will do a better job of forcing Musetti off-balanced, and I do think he'll be able to force Musetti into making some unforced errors based on Alcaraz really applying maximum pressure, and I think that Musetti will break, and I think he will blink a couple of times on big points in these situations. Give me Alcaraz to do a better job with break conversion here on Sunday. I'll take him to win in straight sets at minus 140. For the actual team totals, I guess I'm going to go with Musetti team total under on the 9. Thought about the Alcaraz team total over 12.5 because I can see one close set like I thought we would end up seeing in the Fokina match. The issue is Musetti, who's constantly punted for sets. You don't leave yourself much room for error because I think Musetti can once again go under this team total if he ends up getting buried in the first set again. Alcaraz, though, if he wins the first set comfortably, he needs to either drop a set or he needs to win a set 7-5 or 7-6. And I feel like that is pretty dicey. So I don't mind the Musetti team total under in this one. You can make an argument that if Musetti loses the first set 6-1 again and he wins a set, he could, in theory, still go under or push if he gets smacked in the third set. So give me Alcaraz in straight sets, though. I think he'll win. Musetti, I'm hoping, can keep this match closer than I anticipate, but I think that Alcaraz, despite not playing his best in the event so far, has still been able to look sharp on enough moments to get the job done. I see a pretty similar story here. I think Alcaraz plays a good match. I think he wins this one in straight sets. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the actual preview of the final for Sunday Monte-Carlo. Now it's time for the Lock and Dog picks. Before we get into the actual Lock and Dog, quick reminder brought to you by Underdog Fantasy because you can play their pick'em for a chance to win your times your money. You can also mix and match sports. You could use the NBA, you could use the MLB, hockey as well, and tennis. You could use different sports. Once again, UFC, if you want to try to win 100 times your money. Sign up, though, for your new account with the promo code SGPN. You'll get a special first time budget offer up to 1K in bonus cash on fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm because they are the home of AI back picks and props. They're also live for Major League Baseball. They have models for the NBA and golf. You can also build your own model, which is simple and easy to do. They have 2 great deals right now with promo codes. You can choose which one you want, depending on what subscription you want. They have a monthly deal and an annual deal. 25% off the monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25 and a 50% off annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. That's RITHMM, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished breaking down the final Monte Carlo between Alcaraz and Musetti. Now it's time for the Lock and Dog picks. By the way, I see Cayetano asking for the odds on 2-0. I see Alcaraz 2-0 at minus 140. That's the line I see right now. You could probably shop around, maybe find a better line. I see 2-0 at minus 140, so that's kind of where my mind was going for that one. Anyway, now it's time for the Lock and Dog picks. For the lock, I'm going to go to a prop, actually, a play that I did not mention throughout the entire episode. I was saving it for this actual portion of the show. It's going to be juicy, though. It is minus 150, but I do like it. I've been a bit skeptical and critical of Alcaraz's serve so far in the event, and I think I'm going to go with it once again. Give me Alcaraz under 1.5 aces at minus 150. Alcaraz has been really bad at accumulating aces so far in the event. He's had less than 2 aces in 3 of his 4 matches at the event. The one exception was the Fees match. He had 3 aces in that one, but he had 2 aces in the third set. So in the first 2 sets, Alcaraz had 1 ace. So he's really not been serving that well in terms of actually picking up free points. Musetti, we know, does have a very, very deep return position, and the courts in Monte-Carlo are very slow, so it doesn't give up many aces in the first place. Gave up 1 to de Minaur in the match on Saturday, and it was pretty fluky. It was actually a second serve ace where Musetti gambled on the actual service position. He gambled out wide, de Minaur went inside up the tee, and he ended up second serve acing him. But the point is, Musetti was able to absorb all of the fast serves that de Minaur had. I know Alcaraz serves faster, but he returned so far back on the court that I think Alcaraz will struggle to actually pick up free points. He had 0 aces against Fokina on Saturday. I think you're looking at a good spot for Musetti to once again to limit the ace count for his opponent. He's allowed less than 2 aces in 3 of his 4 matches at the event. 3 of the last 4, at the event. And you're looking at Sorry, Musetti's allowed less than 2 aces and 2 straight. Apologies. So Alcaraz, once again, has gone under this number in 3 of his last 4 matches. Musetti has allowed less than 2 aces and 2 straight, and Tsitsipas can actually serve pretty well. He only had 1 ace in that one. That was also a 3-set marathon. And Alcaraz, I do think at the end of the day, will, I'd say, be conservative on the second serve. I don't see him going for broke a lot. I think Musetti, with his deep return position, Alcaraz might not go for a ton because Musetti is going to be at a disadvantage when the point starts anyway, based on how far back he is. So I think you're looking at the court speeds playing a factor, Alcaraz's serve not being great, and Musetti being a very good returner with his deep return position, resulting in Alcaraz not getting many aces. Give me Alcaraz under 1.5 aces at minus 150 as my lock. For my dog, I am going to go with the actual first set spread. Give me Alcaraz first set minus 2.5 games, and that's available at plus 125. Kind of have to. Musetti's gotten buried in the first set quite often recently. He has lost the first set 6-1 in 3 of his last 4 matches, so he has been getting not just destroyed, but honestly curb stomped in a lot of these first sets. You could get there in one break in theory if Alcaraz does serve first, but Musetti has constantly gotten destroyed in the first set, and I do see that happening once again here in this one. Alcaraz has covered the first set spread in each of the last 3 head-to-head meetings, so I do like how Alcaraz gets off the fast starts against Musetti, and Musetti has been taking his time to, I'd say, adjust to the actual flow of the match. So I do think, once again, Musetti might start off slow in this one, and you're looking at Alcaraz, who I know did not cover this number against Fokina in the semifinal match, but he was up 5-2 in the first set. Then he choked it away. But the point is, Alcaraz did get off to a good start against Fokina on Saturday. I can see a similar story here. But if Musetti's going to fall behind 6-1 in the first set to de Minaur, to Tsitsipas, and to Lehecka, I don't know why Alcaraz can't also jump him early and get a big lead. So I'll go with Alcaraz first set minus 2.5 at plus 125 as my dog. So once again, the plays here for the show. The lock's going to be on Alcaraz under 1.5 aces minus 150. That was on DraftKings. For the dog, I'll go with Alcaraz first set spread minus 2.5 at plus 125. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. That's the last episode of Monte-Carlo. Back once again for the preview of 2 Clay 500 events. We have Barcelona and we have Munich. So we're going to break down both those in the next episode. Until next time, follow me on Twitter, Reichel Radio. Good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.